Yes. In the meanwhile, can you guys tell me which city are you logging in from today? Which city/country are you logging in from today? Yes. Congratulations, Soran. Yes. So tomorrow I'll be giving you a list of exercises that you need to do to cement this understanding of LLMs and everything that I've told you about the tools and AI, right? Because if you don't go ahead and practice everything that I've taught you, all of the information and all of the time that you have wasted here, uh, you have invested here would be wasted. Hmm. Right. So we will just start in a couple of minutes. Yes. In the meanwhile, guys, can you please tell me the name of the city that you are logging in from? Or maybe tell me the name of the city without telling me the name of your city. Go ahead. Tell me the name of your city without telling me the name of your city. Yes. Now this is interesting. Very good. Wonderful. So I think a lot of interesting people from interesting cities. Yes. Amazing. Great. The cleanest city of India. Hmm. Yes. Amazing. Cool. I think this is wonderful, guys. You guys are now getting in the group. We could do this for rest of the time, but let us take another moment for this. So yes, I will just go ahead and start today's session. But before that, in the last two sessions, we have done and covered some very, very important things. And in today's session, I am going to cover a yet more advanced thing. Understand? In the last few sessions, I tried to build up an image that yes, things are simple. You should be able to go ahead and do it. And I'm sure most of you might have feel confident in the same. Today, we are going to change some gears. Okay. I'll go slow to make sure that everyone is able to accommodate. But today's the topics that we are going to discuss are honestly a bit advanced, but I'll try my best in order to make sure that you are able to go ahead and understand everything. Okay. So with that being said, let me go ahead and start presenting my screen. Yes, I'll stop the chat for now so that everyone is not able to distract everyone else. Yes. So we are doing the AI sprint. Today is the third session. One more session is left where we are going to talk about tools. But today's session is super important. Whatever we have covered so far was to build your confidence, was to make sure that you have the right kind of vocabulary. But in today's session, we are going to talk about the exact detailed topic, which will differentiate between you and 90% of the audience that has been talking about AI, that wants to know AI, but they are not able to take the next step. Okay. And today's session, we are going to talk about a very important thing called as context engineering. Okay, what context engineering, why it is important, how to do that. We are going to cover everything in detail. We are also going to talk about methods of context engineering, such as retrieval augmented generation, RAG, prompt engineering, fine tuning. And I'll also give you a brief about Cursor. If we have got time, I could also give you some understanding about the Lovable as a product. Okay, so this is what we are going to discuss today. Less number of topics, but if I talk about subtopics, there are so many things that we need to discuss today. So without wasting time, I'll go ahead and start with the sessions. Okay, so I have told you about the AI, generative AI value stack, where there are some companies which are creating hardware, such as Nvidia, Google. There are some companies that are building models on the top of these hardwares. For example, OpenAI, Gemini, Grok, these kind of players. After that, we have some people who are building application on the top of the same. So people who are building applications such as Notion AI. Notion AI is that all of your documents are available to Notion, are available to Notion because you are writing your documents on Notion. On the top of that, they have built a LLM. They have gone ahead and put a LLM together from OpenAI or some other system. Similarly, Stripe have their own AI-based offering. Atlassian Intelligence, which contains two very popular products such as Jira and Confluence, also has their own, let's say, AI offering. So today we are going to talk about how these applications are constructed. Okay. Now, if you ask ChatGPT that what is popular in the news today, it would be able to answer you, right? That yes, it will crawl the web and it will be able to help you fetch all of this data. But if you ask GPT that what is in my calendar for today in Notion, or what are the to-do list of items that I need to get done from my team today, or if you ask ChatGPT that can you go ahead and yes, if you ask ChatGPT, can you go ahead and fetch me whatever are the recent transaction that I have done at Stripe, or what has been my, let's say, the money that I have earned in the Stripe in the last few months, or if you ask ChatGPT that what all of my tickets are pending, and do you think I'll be able to cover the sprint on time or not? Okay, now the kind of question that I've told you, everyone, please tell in the chat, would ChatGPT be able to answer these questions? ChatGPT, Claude, or anyone? Tell me in the chat, yes or no. Yes, most of you are correct, which is it won't be able to answer. The reason is it does not have the availability of data. For example, how does ChatGPT know that what is in your Jira account, how many tickets are pending, who are your team players, what does the sprint looks like for you? It does not know what documents are included in your Confluence. Similarly, it does not know, let's say, what are the documents that are created in your Notion AI. Similarly, if you ask ChatGPT that what should I go ahead and edit in my code in order to make it more, I would say, more robust, more secure, then it would not be able to tell you unless you are putting the code to ChatGPT. Okay, so here a very major problem becomes that in order to make sure that you are able to utilize all of this information, that is with these products, you have to give ChatGPT data, right? But there is a bigger issue. You cannot just connect these APIs. You can just not export the data, give it to ChatGPT, and ask the questions. You cannot get all the data from your Notion or your Stripe or your Atlassian Intelligence because it's a lot of data, and you cannot go ahead and give it to ChatGPT. Can anyone tell me why you cannot give all of your data to ChatGPT and everyone? Privacy is one of the concerns. Security is one of the concerns. What are the other concerns? Why you cannot give all of your data to ChatGPT or something else in order to ask questions? Yes, very good. A great answer has been given by Jyoti Raj Singh. Okay, which is context window, right? So what happens is, if you guys remember, and if you go back to the session that I have talked to you in the first time, I told you that ChatGPT works on something called as the transformer architecture. the transformer architecture. So what happens in transformer architecture? Whatever the data that you give to ChatGPT, let's say you give any kind of data, any kind of number of tokens or chunks to ChatGPT, it is going to understand, it is going to calculate its position with each and every chunk, right? Every chunk is going to understand its context with every chunk, and then they are going to generate the next word, right? Stop doing this, guys. Yes. Let me just go ahead and stop few things. Just give me a moment. Yes. So, hmm, yes. So privacy and all are different kind of concerns, but the major concern is that practically it cannot happen. Okay. So what will happen is, because every token and every piece of information, every token and every piece of information that the word that you give as an input to your LLM, that would be that would be connected with or checks its attention or reference with each and every other word, because of which it is going to take a lot of processing power. And if you give it too much long of an input, it is going to run out of context. It will not be able to go ahead and generate the right kind of data, right? It will not generate the right kind of data, right? Now what is happening is, just give me a moment. Hmm. Now what will happen if you put all of your data of Notion or your Atlassian, let's say your Jira, or any different kind of document that you have into ChatGPT? What will happen? The context window would be broken, right? The context window would be broken, right? And now there is, if I have to represent it through an image, this will happen. Okay. The LLM would start to hallucinate. Okay. It will give you some wrong information and it will not be able to perform at its best, right? So this will happen. We cannot give, that is why we cannot give all the context at once to any kind of LLM. Okay. And there has been researchers that have posted times and again. So this is a research that has been recently conducted by a company called as Chroma, which is a vector database, open source vector database. Okay. And what happens is, hmm, yes. Now what happens is, they have been able to observe by looking at multiple LLMs that as the length of tokens increases, the quality of the outputs go down, and eventually they keep on hallucinating and keep on giving you the wrong information. Okay, so understand, it's not that if you go ahead and give the long context, it is only going to run out of context limit, but the AI is also going to do a less better job. So you should be very careful about what to put and what not to put in your LLM, right? Even if someone is not able to understand, I hope you should be able to understand from this particular meme, right? LLMs are very good, amazing, maybe more, I would say, have more potential than human brains when it comes to concise input context that is given to them. But if you go ahead and give them too large input context, they might act stupid, right? And in order to now, in order to solve this problem, we have a term called as we have a term called as context engineering, right? So what happens is, This is the exact definition of context engineering given by the person who has, let's say, coined the term. Okay. So this great gentleman or OG of Gen AI, known by the name Andrej Karpathy, who was the director of data at Tesla and has been a co-founder of OpenAI. Right now, he's dedicating his time to help people learn about AI. Right, and he has mentioned this term, and the term means that context engineering is the delicate art and science of filling the context window with just the right information for the next step. Right? Context engineering is the delicate art and science of filling the context window with just the right information for the next step. Right? So, context means you have to make the LLM aware about the situation. What do you want from them? You have to make yourself very, very clear. Right? Second is, it is called as an art and science because engineering, product management, business understanding, and creativity, everything is going to be inserted. Everything has to be utilized in order to create this context engineering thing. What you want to put in the context will depend upon a lot of parameters. I'm going to show you in some examples. Right. Similarly, context window. Context window is what is the length of the input that you are going to give to the what you are going to give to the your LLM. Right. And then the right information. Right information means you should be cautious about what kind of information that you are giving it. So if you give too much information, it might hallucinate. If you give too less information, it is going to give you wrong kind of data. Right. So you have to be cautious about what is the kind of right information that you need to give. Okay. And the last part is you should give enough data so that it is able to get its work done. Right. And this part is called engineering because it is iterative. Engineering is you understand how machines work and you keep on iterating with your input to make sure that you are able to see the other output. So you keep on course correcting. Right? Understand? None of the teams starts with a perfect prompt or context or data. They practice, they put different kind of data, they observe the data at the output, and then they finalize the prompt or the context. Right? So this is context engineering. Right? How is context engineering different from prompt engineering? Prompt engineering is just a set of instructions. Okay, understand that in context engineering, we have a lot of things. Okay, so context engineering, we have a prompt in the context that is a set of instructions that a LLM has to do. Second is it will also contain data. Whatever data that you want to support, you want to give to the LLM so that it is able to go ahead and take a better call. For example, you have to give your Notion documents or your Atlassian documents or Jira documents. Okay. Third is if you have to use any kind of tools or any other information that you want to give so that it is able to do a better job. Right? Whenever we generally talk about prompts, when we talk about prompt engineering, we are only talking about the English instructions that the LLM is going to get. We generally do not talk about data, we just put the data from somewhere. But context engineering is all about making sure that you are able to put all of these parameters together in a way that you are able to get the best output without sacrificing the context window or getting the model to hallucinate unnecessarily. Right? Everyone, tell me a quick yes or no in the chat if you are able to understand what context engineering is. Everyone, please. Amazing. Wonderful. The recording will always be available to you, so you guys can always go ahead and take a second look. So this is context engineering. Now we are going to go back to our initial problem. Okay. we are going to go back to our initial problem, which is how do I make sure that my document from Notion, from Jira, or from any other product on the top of which I need to implement this LLM are able to function well? How are they made available to GPT or any other model? Right? For that, what we'll do is understand the problem that we are trying to do solve is, let's say I want to put an LLM. So I have a use case. The use case is I should ask a question to LLM that tell me I have created a Notion, like a whole Notion directory for my company, and all the meetings that happen, all the conversations that happen, all the notes that we create, all the resources that we create, all the PRDs that we create are stored in a Notion database. And now I want to ask a question. I want to ask a question that what are the initiatives our top engineers are working on, or maybe our engineers are working on, right? I want to ask this question in text. So definitely my LLMs are going to be included here, right? So I have a full Notion database where all the information is available, all the cards, all the boards, everything that everyone is doing is available. Okay, all the documents, all the resources. Now I want to ask this question to this Notion database. How will I get the answer? Right? One way is, as a Notion developer, I can export all of this content. I can put this content along with this chat and give it to ChatGPT. But in that case, either the model will run out of context because there could be too many documents, or because not only about engineers, the work about product managers, unnecessary work, PRD, so many things are being included here. So we are including data, but all of that data is not important. Okay, so it will either run out of context or it will try to hallucinate because you are breaking the context window, right? Or you can do the second step. What you can do is you can only do this search or only have the relevant documents scanned. So rather than looking at all the documents and all the pieces of information, you only look for whatever is relevant for this conversation. Let us, wherever initiatives and engineers are mentioned, wherever a name of a or tag of an engineer is mentioned, we should only capture that data and we should add this data to this particular prompt. And then you will have a better quality of answer. And then LLM will not be able to hallucinate. So what we are doing is we are going to search for in our database, we are going to search for whatever is relevant to this query. We will only pick these documents and then we will only put those documents, that data in this particular context. If needed, we will also compress it and then we will send it to GPT or any other API. Right? That is how we are going to solve this. Okay, a quick yes or no, everyone, if you're able to understand this approach. Taking some data rather than few data based on the search, and then we are going to go ahead and do this. Yes, wonderful. Now, this is what I have told you in the human language that we will search and we will get. But you know that some people mention engineers as engineers, some people mention them as developers, and some people call them something else. And now, if you try to search everything, you might not be able to go ahead and get the right kind of data. Right? So, what you need to do is you now need to leverage more power of AI. Right? So, what we will do is I'm going to introduce you to a very effective and a very important model called as Retrieval Augmented Generation. This is a framework or an approach through which this problem of putting the right thing into context and contextualizing your own database, your own documents for an LLM happens. Okay. So in RAG, what we do is, first of all, what we need is we need that whenever we have a user query, we should be able to find all the relevant documents for that query, at least the top few documents, and then we are able to generate the answer based on say, right? So what we will do is we will first create a knowledge base. Okay. So RAG has two parts. The first part is the knowledge base creation, and the second part is handling the user query. Okay. Now listen to this very carefully. This is super important. Almost every AI product manager is supposed to know about this information. This is almost like understanding how SQL works for a traditional product manager, right? So super important. Now I'm going to tell you this step by step. So please listen to this very, very carefully. Okay. What we'll do is, first of all, we will collect all of our documents. So we might have text, PDFs, transcripts, code, any kind of data. We will collect these documents. Sometimes we will put all of the data in one place and then we have the data there. Sometimes, in real time, the data keeps on changing. So we are going to take that data from API. So whenever someone creates a new document in Notion, someone puts a new line of code in your cursor, that data is going to be taken. And the first step is, after we have taken that data, we are going to break that data into smaller parts. Maybe you have a very big document of 10,000 lines. So you will break it down into small, small components of 500 tokens, 400 tokens, 800 tokens, based on whatever your purpose is. Okay. So you will take all the data and you will break it down into multiple chunks. Okay. And there are a lot of types of chunking. Okay. So if I talk about chunks, chunking means taking your data and breaking it down into smaller parts. Let's say you have a 10,000 word document. A 10,000 word document is generally 15,000 tokens. Roughly one token, like one word, is generally 1.5 tokens. That is just an average. Okay. Now we cannot go ahead and put all of these things together. So what we'll do is we will break it down. So we will break them down into 500 token, 500 token, 500 token. Okay. And we generally also have a sliding window. Okay. So what is a sliding window? Just wait a moment. I'll give you an example. Hmm. Let's say I have this content in my data. I have this content in my data. Okay. In my content. Now I want to make it into chunks. So what I will do is I have taken a strategy that I will chunk this into 10 tokens, or let's say 10 words for simplicity, with a sliding window of 2. What does it mean is I will take things one by one. Okay. So I will take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These 5 things. Yes. This is the whole text. I will create the first chunk of 5. This is my first chunk. Chunk 1. Okay. Now in my second chunk, I'm going to take 2 words from the past. So my next chunk should be comparing Slack and Discord on. But to make sure that the words are connected and the LLM is able to find the relation, I will take 2 more chunks from here. So I will take these 5 parts. Now this is the second chunk. And for the third chunk, it has ended on comparing Slack end. Comparing Slack end. So I will take Slack and Discord on use case. So this way, I will go ahead and break down all the information and the meaning would be written. Right now, I'm here taking 5 chunks for your understanding, like 5 token chunk or 5 word chunk for your understanding. But in real life, it is generally greater than 500 tokens so that the meaning is written. Okay, so now we have these chunks. Okay, and also understand chunking also depends upon what your use cases are. If you are just talking about text, some piece of information, then you can do chunking on the basis of slide window and maybe 500 tokens at once. If you are talking about code, then you can do the chunking at the functional level so that the meaning is retained. People who know from are coming from coding background, they would understand what functional level means. Okay, so there are multiple strategies for chunking. You can go ahead and read about it, but the basic is we have to break down the product. We have to break down the data into small chunks to make sure that it is being used, it is usable for our LLM. Okay. Yes. And how does this chunking happen? So what will happen is you have all the data. You will write a piece of code. You will write a piece of code, which is a simple 3-4 line code, which will take your data one by one, and it will be breaking it down into unique chunks. It's not rocket science. It's just 3-4 lines of code. Even GPT can give you that code within few microseconds. Okay, so this is chunking. Why we are doing chunking? So as to break the whole big document into small parts without losing the meaning. Okay, a quick yes or no, everyone, if you are able to understand things so far. Yes. Be interactive, guys. Be interactive. Everyone, please tell me if you are able to understand this. Yes. Cool. Very good. So we have done the first part. We have chunked the code. So now we have different. We have taken the content and we have this content, right? We have chunked the pieces of information. Now comes the important part. Understand, in natural language processing, we have made a big advancements. We have made a big advancement, which is you can take a sentence, a word, or any piece of information, and you can convert into a vector. Right? Listen to this carefully again. You can pick any piece of information, such as contact, code, text, image, and you can convert that into a vector. What is vector? Vector is a point. Vector is a point with a certain length. So if you understand from your 8th, 9th, 10th, or 11th like class grade, a vector is something that has a direction and it also has some length. Okay, so this vector is x comma y. Okay, if I have to represent this in 3D, I can also say that I can have a y-axis, which is I can have a z-axis, right? So x, y, g is that vector. Now we have been able to advance so much that we can take any piece of information and we can draw it into a big vector space. What it means is we will take a piece of information, we will convert it into a vector, and we will take another piece of information and we will also convert it into a vector. If these two pieces of information are related to each other, have closer meaning to each other, then in the vector space, they would be very closer to each other. They would be very closer to each other. Let's say this is one vector. This is the vector of one particular document. This is the vector of one particular document or one particular chunk. And this is a vector of one particular document or one particular chunk. And this is a vector of another particular document, other particular chunk. So if these things are similar to each other, that means they have a similar kind of meaning, right? And these vectors are not one dimension, two dimension, but they have, let's say, thousands of dimensions so that we are able to accurately predict everything, right? What is the exact process to generate the vector? That is beyond the class that we are in right now, but you can always go ahead and read about it on the internet. I can also attach few resources. Okay, so in vector, what we do is, and how these vectors are generated. Understand? You guys know how LLMs work. So it should not be a rocket science for you to understand how vectors are generated. What would have happened? There would be a formula where we are putting a lot of information that we already have from internet. Initially, we would have done matching manually. After that, we have run a machine learning model on the same. And now we have a system where we give a text and we generate a vector. Now, because you guys understand how how neural networks work, how LLMs work, it wouldn't be a rocket science for you to understand this. I have already given you enough context for this. It works almost in the same way, right? So now what will happen if there are two vectors which are similar to meaning or more vectors similar to meaning? Okay, we tend to find how closer they are, and based on that, we will find things which are semantically similar. Semantically similar in meaning, they are similar to each other. So engineers and developers are same, right? These are the things that we are going to understand. But Dev is a god, but developer is an engineer, right? So now you understand that it will be able to understand things contextually rather than their literal word meaning, right? So this is about vector embeddings. Okay. And vector embedding is, it is not rocket science. You just have to, what you need to do is, you have first brought all the data. Then you have created the data into chunks. After that, OpenAI, Google, and other multiple players are going to give you their APIs, where within few seconds, you can generate the vector from these chunks. So this is also being done for you. You just have to call that API. This is called as the embedding API. This is called as the embedding API. Okay, this is done, and now you have vectors, right? Everyone, a quick yes or no in the chat if you're able to understand this was important. Vector mapping. Okay, so one question is there in the chat, which is why it has to be that vectors that they have chunks have to be converted into vectors. Can you guys tell me, like everyone who has understood, can you tell me why information has to be converted into vectors? Go ahead, guys. Yes. So it is converted into vectors to make sure that eventually, when you are finding the right documents, you'll be able to get semantically meaningful documents or semantically similar documents rather than any random documents. Okay, so it will help you fetch or retrieve the right documents later, right? Which cannot be done by just text. Okay, even when you go ahead and search for, let's say, I would say, search for something on Google, and you are using similar kind of terms, there also vectors are used. For example, we call it lady finger in India, but in the Western countries, it is called as okra, right? But in the vector space, these things are very, very close or maybe similar. So Google understand what you're talking about. right? To make sure that you are able to go ahead and do a better job at finding the information and getting the relevant information, we have to use vector embeddings, right? Now, yes, now what happens is we have created the vector embeddings. Now, an important part, because these vector embeddings are not some your regular data of text and everything, these are numbers where you need to perform the search later. You need to have some very particular kind of storage system in order to store these vectors well. In order to store these vectors well. Okay, so what will happen is there are some particular database systems which will help you store these vectors, whatever you have generated, so that later you can do search, you can find similarity and do a lot of things. Okay, some popular systems are Pinecone, Supabase, and AWS has recently launched something called as S3 Vector Docs. Okay, and there is like the company that I'm showing you from that graph of how large language model experience fails with more number of context. They also offer a vector based database. The name of the company is Chroma. Okay, so now so far what do we have? We have a finally we have created a vector storage where whenever a piece of information is created, it would be chunked automatically. It would be created into vector embeddings and then it will be stored. So whenever you create a new piece of document on Notion, if you have enabled Notion AI, they will automatically take that document in real time. They will convert it into a chunk. They will convert those chunks into vector embeddings. And then they would be ready with these chunks in the vector storage so that whenever you ask a question, they are able to find this information. Right. Similarly, when you go ahead and put some content in Jira, in Confluence, all of the same things happen. Right. And this is not a one-time thing. Understand? Today you created a Notion document and you have mentioned something there. And tomorrow, if you go ahead and search for something, you should be able to find that. Right. So this process is ongoing. As you create a document, this information is created, vectors are created, and then they are stored. So that data is always latest. Right. So whenever you have data that is being updated, you should always use RAG, Retrieval Augmented Generation. Okay. But this is just one part of RAG. This is just one part of RAG, which is we have stored the information. Now, what after we have stored the information, how do I query this? Okay. So the second part of RAG is this is what will happen. In the second part, the user will ask a question. Let's say user will ask how the Tesla has performed in the last quarter. Okay. And let's say there is a product that is being created by Bloomberg, which is Bloomberg GPT. So we are, let's say, asking the question to Bloomberg, or you are asking a question to your Notion doc. Okay, the question is how well Tesla has performed in the last quarter. Right. So now what will happen? You have this prompt. First of all, this prompt itself would be converted into an embedding. This whole prompt would be converted into embedding. Right? Understand? Prompts are not chunked and then converted into embedding. Prompts are not chunked before converted into embedding because prompts are generally not very large. Right? In some extreme cases, you might have to chunk the prompt, but most of the time, prompts are taken as it is, and then they are converted into a vector embedding. Similar process. You will use a OpenAI or any other embedding API, and then it would be converted into embedding. After the embedding is converted, after the embedding is created, now what we will do is this is an important step. Look at this carefully. You have this document, and you have all of these documents in your database. But you do not need all the documents. You need documents which are semantically similar to this particular document. So you will make a search. You will take this vector, You will do a vector search and you will find all the top and matching chunks. So you will see all the information that is matching, and you are going to pick only top few, maybe 5, 10, 20, 30, depending upon your context. Right? This is where you have to iterate. Understand? You have to figure out this number n as in how many content pieces I need to give to the context. That is trial and error. You might start with 5, then you'll observe what is happening. Then you'll do 10, then you'll observe that is happening, and then you will go on. Right? So this is top and matched chunks. So now what we have is we have a piece of data where this information might be available. Information that is available to this particular this. Okay. And these searches are made on Pinecone, Supabase, Amazon S3 or Chroma because they will give you an interface to do this. Now you will call the API of these databases so that you are able to find the relevant vectors, relevant piece of information. Okay. Now you have the information. So whatever was the text that was a part of these similar embeddings, it is going to be fetched. Okay. And then you will have a new prompt. Answer the question using the context below. And you will put all the information that has came. From the search, all the information that has came is going to be pasted here. And then you will mention the question. Question was how the test hub has performed in the last quarter. And then question would be pasted here. And then it will be sent to an LLM, could be a Claude, Gemini, or Llama, or GPT. And then you will get the answer. Right? So this is the whole process of RAG. I'll repeat everything once again in case someone has missed it. Number one is we create the knowledge base. How do we create a knowledge base? We collect all the information. We convert it into chunks so that we are able to break it down into small parts. After that, we are able to convert it into vector embeddings with OpenAI or other APIs. Okay. This can be done simply. It is not a difficult task. You don't need an API. You just need 5 lines of JavaScript code or 2 lines of Python code. Okay. After that, it will be stored in vector storage because you have to search them very efficiently. Okay. After this, user will send a query. Then you will convert it into vector embedding. Then you are going to search for whatever is the relevant information as per this particular content. And then you are going to find all the content that is matching that, all the relevant content. Okay. For example, if you're searching for what engineers have done, so you are going to see wherever engineers' names is mentioned, what are the initiatives that are out there. Okay. And then after this, we are going to put everything together. We are going to create context. This is where context engineering is. Okay. We are going to put everything together. And then we will give it to the LLM, the whole prompt, and then we will get the answer. Right? Everyone, a quick tell me on a scale of 1 to 5 if you are able to understand this. 1, you did not understand, 5, you understand it well. Okay. After this, yes. So people who are 4 or less than 4, I would appreciate if you can go ahead and watch the recording again. I'm sure you'll be able to understand. Okay. That's a matter of focus. Yes. Gauri has a question that is it correct to say that every word in English language has a corresponding predefined vector or every text is okay. So this is AI. In AI, we do not hardcore, we do not predetermine. What we do is we have a set of patterns that everything in the world follows. Okay. And we generate it on the fly. Right. For some cases, let's say some common words, we can always go ahead and store that as in, let's say, hard coded vectors. But generally, vectors are generated on the fly. Right. Cool. Understood. Now, let's go ahead. Now, let's go ahead. Okay. So we have covered about RAG. Okay. I'm sure everyone is able to understand RAG. Now, what is happening here is what will happen in these cases that I have told you in midway. In Notion, whenever a document is created, in Notion, whenever a document is created, we are going to convert into chunks, then into vectors, and store in the vector DB, such as Pinecone. Then, whenever a query comes, we are going to search for the relevant vectors. We are going to frame a good prompt and whole context, and then we are going to give it to the LLM. That's it. Similarly, in Stripe, same thing will happen. Similarly, in Atlassian Intelligence, which is Jira and Confluence, everything is getting collected, and then you are going to get the output. RAG is right now the most popular way to integrate AI in your own product. RAG right now is the most popular way to integrate AI in your own product. Right. And this is the absolute essential piece of information that anyone who calls themselves an AI enthusiast should. Okay. These are the fundamentals of RAG. Okay. We go ahead and explain things in detail about different kind of chunking technologies, how to code this, what does the embedding API looks like in our advanced program. Okay. Where you will understand and you will also go ahead and build your small RAG based system from scratch. Right. Cool. Everyone, a final yes or no if RAG is understood to you. Everyone, please. Yes. So, guys, tokenization happens. In the end, it is going to happen at the LLM. You don't have to take care about tokenization. Whenever you give some prompt to the LLM, it is its responsibility to do the tokenization. So you don't have to worry about tokenization right now. Yeah. What if the prompt is not in the storage? It might not happen. Okay, it might not happen because everything will start with a prompt. Yes. So this is the first part. Okay. Now let me go ahead and tell you some. There is some question that everyone asks. Okay, which is some privacy related questions. That if I go ahead and give my data to, let's say, people such as Pinecone, ChatGPT, and all, will it be? Will they use it? Will they go ahead and maybe abuse it? Okay. Will they use it for their own purposes? How will data be stored? Okay. So understand, most of the time, whenever you are using your personal plan for ChatGPT and any of these tools and models, okay, how your data is stored is secure, but how it is shared is a gray area. Okay, how your data is stored is score that there are very likely chances that your data is encrypted and it will not be able to reach. It will not be able to be exploited even if it reaches the wrong hands. However, when you talk about the usage of data, whether they are going to use it for fine tuning or something else, they can use it. For the personal part, they can use it. But if you are using an enterprise chat GPT where your company has a contract, then they are not supposed to use your data for fine tuning unless you explicitly tell them. Right? What fine tuning is, we are going to come in a moment. Okay. So if you are using the company wide chat GPT or any other of the LLMs, most of the time your company already has this contract. Okay. And generally, what people also do is they, let's say, I have a use case of, there are some strange ways or some innovative ways, I would say, that companies use in order to protect their privacy. Okay. So we were consulting a fintech company very recently, and they need LLMs to write SQL queries because they have a lot of tables and lot of databases, and analysts and product managers have it difficult to go to the data science team every time in order to ask them for information or data. So what they do is they have taken the whole SQL table structure. They have not taken the data. They have just taken the table structure, right? This table structure, which does not contain any data, they have explained whatever the every table means. Okay. And then they put it into LLM that this is my table structure. Please help me generate a query which does this. And then they only get the table structure from that. They get the SQL query, and then they are able to run the SQL query on their own database. So there are various small innovative things that companies are doing to protect this data. But understand, if you have an enterprise plan and if you have that partnership with ChatGPT or any of these players, which your enterprise team is definitely going to have, your data is mostly safe. At least with the top companies such as OpenAI, Anthropic, and other companies of the world, right? And a general piece of advice is if you are not sure, then whenever you join these systems, they are going to ask you for accepting the terms and conditions, which I'm sure no one has read ever. But now you have Chat GPT. So copy everything, paste it to Chat GPT, and ask your questions. Okay. So now you don't have a reason to talk much about privacy because you can go ahead and control it. You don't have to worry about it because now you can control it, right? So this is about RAG. Okay. Now the next thing that we need to cover are guide to prompt engineering, then fine tuning, and maybe I'll also talk about how cursor works. Okay. But before that, let's take a quick break of 5 minutes. We will return after 5 minutes and we will continue the session with more important things. So many more important things are going to discuss today. Don't leave the session. Go ahead, drink some water, do some stretches, and come back. We'll return in just 4 minutes and 50 seconds. Hello, everyone. Yes, cool. Give me a hands up if you are back in the chat. Give me a hands up if you are back. Wonderful. Great. Yes, yes, yes. Cool. Amazing. I hope everyone is back. Let me go ahead. Let me go back. Okay. Yes. Yes. One request, everyone, that if you are enjoying the session, if you are getting the value from the session, if you got to learn something new, please go ahead. I have mentioned a link in the chat. Tell me in the comments if you are getting the value from the session. Go ahead. Take a minute. I have mentioned a link in the chat. Go ahead and tell me there if you are getting the value from the session. That will help us help more people like you as they also go ahead and discover this useful content. Go ahead, take a moment. Helpful knowledge should be shared. Go ahead and help us help more people like you. Yes, 20 more seconds. And yes, tomorrow I am going to tell everyone, and I'll also share a form with you with some set of tasks that will help you get the certification from the program. Okay, so we have covered a lot of content so far. Today we'll talk about some action, and then I'll give you what are the tasks that you need to do in order to fetch the certificate. Okay, that will make sure that you are able to learn things practically and not only just going through session after the session and recording after the recording. Okay, you need knowledge, not information. Information I've already given you enough. Now it's your time to convert that into knowledge. Wonderful. So I think we have many people. Yes. And also, if some people want to, although this much enough context is also good enough for you, but if you want to get deeper, at HelloPM, we also offer one of the most detailed programs on AI product management. Okay, so you can always go to the website. I can assure you that the curriculum that you are going to see, this is the most detailed curriculum around product management, around AI product management that you are always going to see, anyways going to see. Yes. So now we are back in the session. Let me just go ahead and start. Okay. So we have talked about RAG. Now, one other important part of context engineering is prompt engineering. And prompt engineering, you have to understand it from two angles. The first angle is that you yourself are using GPT and Claude and so many tools every day. So if you know how to write better prompts, it will help you improve your productivity. And the second part is, as a product manager in your products, you have to write prompts. So in the last class, I have given you this example that in products such as Granola, Gong, Fireflies, which are meeting recording tools, this is the prompt that they use. So their whole product is actually a prompt. Okay, that you are an expert chief of staff, and this is what you need to go ahead and produce, and these are the guardrails that you need to follow. Okay, so prompt engineering is not only for making yourself productive, but it is also an essential skill for any PM if they want to go ahead and build better products which uses AI. Because in the end, you have to send the prompt to the LLM in order to leverage and get the information from. Okay, so prompt engineering super important for you. Prompts are not only useful for getting good answers for LLM for yourself, but also for your customers. They are an integral part of Gen AI products. Okay, but the sad part is we do not focus a lot on prompt. Okay, I'm sure most of you would have used GPT or other LLM at least once in the last 2 or 5 hours. Up to 5 hours, everyone has used it at least once, right? And some of you, I would say most of you have used this while you are taking the session. So understand, if you are doing something 10 times, 20 times, 100 times a day, why don't you invest a couple of hours in order to learn how to do better prompting? If you do that, you are going to save a lot of time in your life and you are going to get much more productive. But the issue is people do not go ahead and learn these things. For example, in order to get the most nutrition from the food, there is a particular way, which is you should chew the food in a particular way, like very slowly, observe the texture and then observe the taste. This will make sure that you are able to get like chew the food better so that your gut health is also better and you are able to get the maximum nutrients. Okay, but we don't care. Although we are eating 4 times a day, but we do not slow down and we do not reflect. Okay, similarly is prompt engineering. Okay, you have to dedicate few hours today, tomorrow, or maybe very soon in the future. You have to take that call. And then you will see that once you just follow the basic principles of prompt engineering, the quality of your output is going to go to the next level. Okay, but there is one more issue. Why do we don't do this? Why do we don't do this? What happens is, even if you give a mediocre prompt to GPT, it would be able to give you an answer. And that answer is good enough to satisfy you. So what is happening is here, good is the enemy of best. So because you are happy with whatever mediocre output that you are getting, you are not putting enough efforts in order to derive the most value from this particular thing. And because of which you are okay, because you have not seen, let's say, good enough things, you are very much okay. Right. So when you see Jurassic Park and these dinosaurs and all for the first time, you are very happy. Why? Because you thought that is the limit of animations. But when you see Avatar, when you see Avengers, you understand that yes, this is what it is possible. Right. So please expose yourself. And when you expose yourself, when you form an opinion, that is when you develop a very important skill for 21st century, which is called as taste. Taste means not setting in for mediocre, looking for inspiration, developing an opinion, right? That is a very important thing to have in today's life. So my only recommendation for everyone is, don't be happy with the output that the prompt gives you in the first go. You have to iterate. Okay. And there is a reason why this is called as prompt engineering, because engineering means tweaking, course correction. Okay, there is no formula that if you do this, your prompt is perfect. That is not there. If that was there, the LLM would have done it by itself. So it depends upon your own creativity. It depends on your own context, on your own needs. So please focus time on learning prompt engineering. Okay, there is a very popular. Let me see if I have that link. Okay, so there is a very popular, and I would say the ultimate research paper that talks about how to learn prompt engineering. Okay, I have taken few pointers that have helped me in this particular site that I'm going to tell you. But this is, I'll also share that particular document with you. Okay, where is the document? So at Cornell, they have created a very detailed research at how to generate better prompts or how to create better prompts. Okay, and this search is available in the public domain. Okay, I'll share this link with you in the resources section. I know everyone knows where the resources section is. Go to AI Sprint page, log in, and then you'll be able to see all the recordings and content. Okay, everything would be mentioned here. My recommendation is, although this is 80 pages, okay, but still you can use some summarizing or something in order to read it, at least for first go. If you can read it completely 80 pages, nothing like that. That will put you into the top 5-10% people who know about prompt engineering. Okay, but to save your time right now, I will tell you few steps. Okay, some 7 best practices that will help you create much better prompts. Okay, listen to this carefully, everyone. Yes. So, first and the most essential step, and this is not only true for prompt engineering, but for anything else in your personal and professional life, please learn to take a step back. Please learn to slow down. You might have to take a couple of steps back in order to sprint forward, right? So please, before you jump into solution, try to understand what you have, what you want, what your real needs are, and then go ahead and put your thoughts into writing the prompt. Generally, people don't think. They have some thought at the top of their mind, and then they write it out, and then they get the mediocre information and they move away. And on the table, they have lost a big opportunity that would have given them an outstanding outcome. But because they do not have the ability to take a step back, they are suffering, and they don't know that they are suffering. Right. So the first thing is, please take a step back. By stepping back means take a pause, understand the situation, understand that I trust all of yours mind that you have a better than average IQ because you are focusing on learning something on a weekend, right? So if I trust that you have a better than average IQ, I think you deserve even much better. Okay, so always make sure that you are able to take a step back. All of the other tactics that I'm going to tell you, they are also relevant, but the most important is take a step back. Okay, understand the situation, position yourself before you go ahead and take a call. Okay, first part. The second is whenever you go ahead and ask something to ChatGPT or another LLM, please give it the right role so that it's able to work in that context. For example, whenever I ask it to take product management interviews, I ask it that you are a senior product manager or a senior product leader who has been taking interviews for these many years, and you have been trained as a professional interviewer at Meta, Google, and other companies. So now I am giving it a role so that it is able to give you better context, right? So take a step back, right role. The third is output expectation. Always mention what kind of output do you want. You understand that if you want to cram some information quickly, you would ideally want a table. If you want to give it to a piece of code, let's say you want to generate something where you want to go ahead and give that information to a piece of code, then you will generate maybe some kind of JSON or you will generate some kind of summary. So be clear of what you want. If you clarify the output, it is going to do a better job, right? And always make sure that you are able to iterate that if this output was not good, what could be a better format to represent this information, right? The third step is multi-step. Okay, so I have told you that large language models are nothing but next token generators or predictors. Next token generators or predictors. Okay, so they have a ability to think in step by step. If you give them all the content at once, there are chances that in order to generate the next piece of information, hallucinate, or they might not do a better job. So ask LLMs to think in multi steps. Multi steps as in whenever you go ahead and solve a math problem, you go step by step, right? So let's say if you want to write a product requirement document with your LLM, you should ask it rather than saying that this is my information and then you go ahead and create a PRD, you should ask it that please go ahead and check what are the needs of these users. Are they aligned or not? Then go ahead and help me understand the metrics. Then go ahead and do this. Then go ahead and do this. Then go ahead and help me generate what are the frequently asked questions that could be asked by my engineering or marketing teams. And then collect all the information and put it together in the PRD. Once we go ahead and put everything, every form together, we are able to go ahead and convert this. Okay, so multi-step means ask it to think in a step. It will be able to go ahead and do a better thinking job for you, right? After this, give examples. If you really want to get a accurate kind of thing from your LLM, you should try to give it an example. Okay, let me show you something. Just give me a moment. Yes. So I will open Chat GPT right now. Okay. And I will write that please write a detailed article on Gen AI for product managers. Okay. I will click this. What is generative AI when Gen AI makes the value in product? You can see that how it is generating, right? So this is good enough information, right? This is good enough information. There is nothing wrong with this information. Okay. And if you show it to someone, they would be happy that yes, I'm able to get this, and they are going to move on to the next topic. Okay. However, if you do a bit extra, if you give it an example. So I have written a article some time ago, which is like very popular article now. So I've written a definitive guide to AI ML product management. Okay. Although some content is similar, but I just want to understand that if I'm able to write an article in the same format because it's popular, it is it is loved by so many people. I want to follow this structure. I don't want to follow the content. I just want to follow the structure. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll copy everything. I'll also send everyone the link to this article so that you guys can go ahead and read it. But right now, let me show you something. Yes. Cool. So I have copied this. Now I'll write. Please write a detailed article on Gen AI for product managers. I'm sure GPT is going to correct the spelling as well. Okay. Make sure you follow the tone, structure, and whatever you think is best in this given article. Okay. And then I'll go ahead and paste this article. Right. Now you look at the quality of the article. Right. It is now training you in a way that I teach you. Okay. Setting the context correctly, giving you the kind of information, the index pages that I always include, then taking things one by one. Okay. Why it matters for you, learning the fundamentals and everything. Right. So this is not the best, but a good iteration over the last article that we have created. Right. So if you give it examples and understand, guys, there are many examples. You should go ahead and create a list of best PRDs, find it from Google. You should go ahead and create a list of best wireframes. So as an AI product manager, you should create a folder in your Google or Notion where you just create inspiration and collect inspiration. And whenever you ask ChatGPT, you should just put this information there so that you are able to build on the shoulder of giants. Right? Yes. A quick yes on everyone if you're able to understand the example of this, the purpose of this example. Amazing. Why this is not loading? Just give me a moment. Cool. Some issue with the Google Docs. Just give me a moment. What is happening? I'll try to refresh this. Hmm. Just give me a moment. Hmm. Cool. I'm not sure what is not allowing me. Okay. So first step was take a step back. Second is give it a right role, then give it a clear output expectation, then multi-step, and then give examples. Okay. One more step is give it constraints. Constraint doesn't. When you are giving a prompt to ChatGPT and you are able to observe that it is making this mistake again and again. For example, most of the time, ChatGPT includes something called as the EM dash, right? Where it is a it is a giveaway that it has been generated by ChatGPT. Okay. So what you do is you also give it constraints that please do not do this. Make sure that you do not do this. That makes sure that it is not making that mistake. So observe and then find out what are the mistakes that it is making and put them into constraints explicitly so that it will not go ahead and make. And the last part is, which is also the very, very important part, which is iterations. All of the process that I have told you someone was able to get all of this information because they were caring enough to iterate. Always remember, good is the enemy of best. Okay. You always have to iterate. If something does not happen, iterate. The beauty of large language models is that it is almost cheapest thing to the most wonderful yet cheapest thing piece of technology that you can use. And you can use it iteratively. You can get feedback as soon as possible. So please go ahead and iterate. If you think that output is not correct, iterate. If you think the role could be improved, iterate. If you think you do not need multi-step or you need multi-step, iterate. So everything else that I've told you can change, but these two are fundamentals. Take a step back and iterate. Okay. So if someone gives you a lot of time, let's say a lot of time to go ahead and put down a tree, the most intelligent people are going to spend most of the time not to cut down a tree, but to sharpen their axe, which is taking a step back. Okay. And then course correcting, iterating. Never be satisfied with the mediocre results that you are getting. The first result is most of the time mediocre. As you go ahead, you are going to get the better results. Okay. So this was a 101 guide to prompt engineering. This is enough for you right now, but I'll also attach some advanced examples where you can go ahead and learn about this. Okay. So I have created one more document for you people that will be available to you in the resources section as well, where you can get some specific prompts for you as product managers. Okay, which is how to do market research, how to do user research, how to write PRDs and user stories, how to do a pre-mortem, how to do prepare for your next interview. All of these things are mentioned. So I'll share that document with you. This is also absolutely free. Okay, so this will also be available to you. Now the next part is, okay, so tell me a yes or no in the chat if you guys are going to implement these techniques in your next set of prompts. A quick yes or no in the chat. Yes. Yes. Cool. So whatever you're telling right now is just a wish. Okay. It is easy to say that I'm going to do it, but it's very difficult to do. I understand, you understand. Okay. Most of the time, our prompts are very, very small. Okay. So now I'm going to give you the revised version of this guide, which is Guide to Prompt Engineering for busy people like you, because I'm sure you do not have time to put all of this content together. Okay. And what you need to do here is I'll give you 5 steps that will help you do, like, use more AI and more effective AI. Okay. So first thing is, please learn about something called as word expanders. Okay. What is a keyword expander? If you are using an Apple MacBook or a Windows laptop or desktop, there is a software called as text replacement. Okay, there is a setting called as text replacement, or you can get some software such as Vox for Windows or Alfred for Mac, where what it does, it creates shortcuts for you. For example, when I go ahead and write, so let's say I want to write a prompt, but I know that it is going to take me so much time in order to take this prompt, right? Write this prompt. It will take me time. And generally, like me, everyone is also lazy. So we do not do this. But what if I show you a hack that you can go ahead, configure this? Okay, so what I'll do is on my chat GPT, I will just write power P. And now you can see I have this prompt. I'll just click on this, whole prompt is created. This is called as text expansion or text replacement. Okay, you can just go to your settings if you are using a MacBook, where you can search for text replacement. You can set that from which piece of code or maybe what keyword stroke, what is going to be coming. Okay, so I have written that whenever I write power P or the power prompt, you should replace it with this particular thing. And now I have a final pro prompt. Okay, so whatever common prompts that you use, please put them here. Okay, for example, if you are a product manager, you always give it a role that you are a product manager at this company, this is what you do. This role, you always have to write 4 or 5 lines. So you can put this together into a text replacement thing, and then you can create your own prompt. Right? That is advice number one. Second advice is you are going to find a lot of prompts that are helpful for you. Okay. And then you think that I have already have this conversation shaped in chat GPT. So I will always come back to this prompt. But that rarely happens. You even forget the conversation and you don't know how to search for it. So my recommendation is take 2 minutes extra. Okay. And please create your own prompts repository. Please create your own prompts repository. You can use Notion, Google, or Apple Docs or anything where you can create a prompt repository. You can write that, yes, these are the prompts that I need to use. You don't need to have anything fancy. Just mention prompt by prompt, line after line. That's it. That will give you a lot of advantage over, let's say, 90% of the audience. Because people are using LLMs, but they are using them like zombies without their conscience. Okay. The third is quick shortcuts. Understand, you could have created these documents, but if it is hard for you to find the document where it is stored and all, you'll not be able to do it. Okay. So there are extensions. So I have an extension where whenever I open a new tab, I will be landing to my bookmarks tab so that I can always go to the content very, very easily. Right? So make sure that you are installing some of the extensions that help you manage the shortcut. So for example, whenever I open a new tab, a new, let's say, a document list will come, which is the important document that I need to refer. So I need to never search them. I just open a new tab and then it is in front of me. So make things easier for you. If you don't make your operations of your life easier, you will not be able to leverage these things. Create systems. Okay. Then use a prompt manager. There are many softwares. I'll not recommend you anything because I don't want you to get opinionated. Go ahead and search for prompt managers. And it will give you a lot of it will give you a lot of things. Test, try whatever fits your workflow. Go ahead and use it. Okay. And make sure that you at least, if you do not remember anything, at least use this prompt. So this prompt is called as the prompt wildcard, which says analyze the following prompt idea, insert prompt idea, whatever the prompt that you have, rewrite the prompt for clarity and effectiveness, identify potential improvement or additions, refine the prompt based on identified improvements, present the final optimized prompt. I'll also write this to every one of you. I will share this with each one of you so that you are able to create and improve the quality of your prompts. Okay, so if you do this, it is my assurance that you will be among the top 10% people who are consciously using ChatGPT and other powerful models. Understand? With LLMs, the best minds of the world have pushed a wonderful mind of the world, like uh, a very powerful mind, a very powerful intellect in your own hands. But if you don't know how to use it, then you are doing a disservice to yourself. Okay, so please follow the steps that I've told you to understand how LLMs work and how you can leverage them. Second is please follow these things so that you are able to use them. Just having information in your mind does not matter. You need to create systems so that you are not making a mistake of avoiding these. Right? Cool. Everyone tell me on a scale of 1 to 5 if you found this helpful. 1, you did not find this helpful. 5, you found this super helpful. Amazing. Cool. Yes. Amazing. Now, yes, wildcard prompt I have already shown you. This is the wildcard prompt. Okay. So you guys can go ahead and use this. Now, the other part is fine tune. So we talk about RAG, we talk about prompt engineering. These are through ways in which you can give some context to the LLM so that they are able to answer in your own context. Okay. Now there is a term called as fine tuning. Okay. Before I tell you what fine tuning is, can you guys go ahead and tell me in the chat in one line, what do you think is fine tuning? Before I tell you, go in the chat and tell me, what do you think is fine tuning? Hmm. Yes. So understand, fine tuning means very good, very good. I think many people are able to understand it. You guys are intelligent people. Yes. So fine tuning means you are adopting a pre-trained LLM with domain specific data to make it more useful for a particular task. For example, you are a big bank, you are World Bank, and then you think that you should use ChatGPT or any other LLM for your customer support. Okay. And then you give it some data in prompt that reply with empathy or some things. Okay, like small instructions you have given it. And when the user comes, they ask information, you are able to reply, but that does not matches your tone, that does not have your domain matter expertise, and your, let's say, your whole context. Okay. So now you understand that here in this case, if I want to change the behavior of a model, behavior as in how does it responds, what tone it follows. Okay. What are the methods of it generating its output? If you want to change these fundamental things, not the data, but also the tone in which it generates. Okay. Then what you will do is you will take all of your past data that is important. You will put this data, it is called as training data, and then you will take an already existing model such as GPT or Anthropic or anyone, and you are going to train the model again on your data. So let's say a bank, World Bank or ICICI Bank or any other bank of the world, they want to fine tune a model. What they will do is they will first pick an already existing model so that they do not have to spend millions on building a model from scratch. Then they will take their data in the form of questions and answers, whatever data that they have from the past. Let's say if they are already running the company for a few years, they would have all the question and answers stored somewhere, like good question and answers. They will take that, they will give it to OpenAI or any other fine tuning platform. Amazon can do this, OpenAI can do this, any platform can do this. Okay. It can also be done with if you just go ahead and go to OpenAI platform. And if you write this from your terminal, you should be able to fine tune the model. This is a simple line of command that you need to use. Okay. And then the new model would be generated. And if you use this model for your customer support queries, it will be able to act like as if it is trained by your company. It will have all the context, it will have all the tone, it will have all the psychology as your company's chatbot would behave. Okay, so this is called as fine tuning. So what we do is we have a base model such as Llama, GPT, Sonnet, or any other model. After that, we do the fine tuning. We curate data and examples. We have to collect a lot of examples, then we give it to. And after that, we have a fine tuned model which is ready for specialized inference. Inference means generating output. You will find this word again and again, inference. So don't get worried. Inference is just generating output via an LLM. That's it. Right? So you have the base model, you have trained it on your system, on your data, and then you have a fine-tuned model. Right? There are multiple kinds of fine-tuning. Okay. A common fine-tuning is called as full fine-tuning, where you take all the data, and I have shown you that there are billions of parameters. Okay. You try to change all the parameters. You try to change all the parameters. Right? But that is very expensive. That is useless most of the times. You don't have to do and go to that extent. If you just want to change a certain behavior, you have something called as low rank adaptive fine tuning. Low rank adapted fine tuning, also called as LORA, LoRa. Okay, you can go ahead and learn about it from ChatGPT, and in our program also we are going to discuss about LoRa in a bit more detail. Right? So there are multiple kinds of fine tuning. There is small fine tuning, there is full-fledged fine tuning, and it depends upon case to case. Okay, many companies also do that in order to generate this data. Okay, so understand, if you are using a big model, if you are using GPT, let's say 4.0 or O3 or Claude Sonnet, then these models are expensive because these are big models with so many parameters. So many companies, what they do is, listen to this very carefully. This is very important part. And this is a very intelligent thing that companies do. And this is also an example of context engineering. So what they do is, they take a small base model, a small base model which has few parameters, maybe millions of parameters. Okay. A good example is Llama, Mistral. These are open source models that are available. Okay. And these are small models that in these models, the size of tokens is not much, but the cost of inference is very less. For example, if OpenAI is going to give you for $10 1 million tokens, they might give you 1 million tokens for $0.1. Okay, so what companies have started doing is they will take these small models. Okay, after that, they are going to generate specific data with the help of big models, because big model can do anything. So they are going to generate good, sophisticated data for training from the big models. Then they are going to train the small models with with this data that they have generated with big models. Okay. Then they have a fine-tuned small model. Understand? Fine-tuning takes money. You have to spend a lot of money in order to do fine-tuning. Okay. So then fine-tuned you have done for a small model. Now, because you are a small model and it has all the context, all the information that you need, now you can use this model. And for this model, the cost is 1/10 or 100 less. This is how many companies are actually optimizing their LLM cost. I'll repeat this again. Please listen to this carefully. It's a good tactic to know. One, you start with a small base model. Now, the issue is that many companies do not have ready-made data available. So they create good quality of data, good quality or high quality of data through large models. What are large models? Such as large models are maybe your GPT, O3 or other, where the cost of inference is high. They are very intelligent models. Okay, they are good for generating data. After that, you fine tune. And once you fine tune, then you can use a small model or the fine tuned model, like a small model which is fine tuned for your use case with low inference costs. So many people think that if we do fine tuning, it is going to reduce our price. It is going to increase our pricing because fine tuning is very costly. But understand, fine tuning generally is one time cost. You can do it again and again, but generally it is one time cost. Okay, so this is how you leverage fine tuning in order to reduce the cost of your inference. Right. So, for example, if you are solving for a particular disease in medical, right, then you can generate all the information from a large model, take your own data as well, and then you can train a small model on the same. That will do the purpose for you. And also, these models will be much faster. Why? Because they have less number of parameters. Right? Yes. Everyone, a quick yes or no if you're able to understand this. It was an interesting tactic to understand, so I have told you this. Yes. Now let us go ahead and talk about one more thing. Okay. So we have talked about the base model, fine-tuned LLMs. Okay. And this is like one line of code, which is OpenAI API. You are calling the OpenAI API, where you are going to call a function, which is function fine-tunes.create. And then you give it the data that this is my data. And this is the base model that you need to use. And then it will do its job for a few hours, and then it will generate a new model for you that you can use for your inference. Okay. This is one line of code that you need. So understand, fine-tuning is not rocket science, but collecting the right data, giving it the right customer context. That is the job of a product manager that you need to do. Engineer's job has made much easier by LLMs. They just need to put this line of code with the OpenAI API. Right? Now, a very important question that everyone needs to ask is, what to use when? I have told you prompt engineering, I have told you RAG, I have told you fine tuning. What to use when? Okay, so this is a decision tree that I'll tell you. Please observe this carefully because this is super important. Okay. If your base LLM, which is GPT or anything, is good enough, and with careful prompting, you'll be able to generate right data. For example, if you are using a product such as Chat PRD, then you can just give it in a prompt that create the PRD in this particular format. You do not need any other information. You will give it your context, you will give it your PRD format, and then it will be able to generate. Similarly, on Granular Fireflies that we have discussed last week, there what you will do is you will just take all the meeting transcript, and then you will give it a prompt that please summarize this in this particular format. Here, you do not need RAG because there is not a lot of information. The information is not changing. You do not need fine tuning because you are okay with what the LLM has been trained on, right? So if this is your requirement, generally go ahead with prompt engineering. This is enough for you. Most of the products which are called as Chat GPT wrappers or GPT wrappers are using prompt engineering. That's it, right? The second is, if that is not the case, then if the problem is only missing or dynamic knowledge, let's say you want to create some AI functionality on top of your existing data. And with prompt engineering, you will not be able to give the right data. So what you will do is you will use RAG. So in Stripe and Notion, what we do is, because we need the LLM to answer questions from our database, we have to use RAG. So when the issue is with data, the issue is with context of dynamic knowledge, that knowledge should keep on updating from where we are asking the questions, then you should use RAG. But if the issue is that the model is not able to generate in a style, or you need a particular domain matter expertise, which you cannot provide in RAG because there is a lot of data. Okay, or you need the model behavior changer, and that will happen with a lot of data, then you are going to use fine tuning. Okay, a good example is Bloomberg GPT has been trained, is a fine-tuned GPT on the top of all the data that Bloomberg has from analysts. Right. So when ChatGPT crawled the internet, they could not access the Bloomberg data because they have saved it beyond login in the Bloomberg terminal. Right. So now Bloomberg has used GPT, take their data, fine tune the model on the same, and now they name it as Bloomberg GPT. Right. Similarly, Duolingo has a product called as Duolingo Max. There also they are taking like a base model and then they have trained the model on the top of the same. Okay, so this is like a common thinking pattern, but understand great products are created with a solid combination of all the three parts. Okay, they might use some form of fine tuning to make sure that the tone is correct. They will use RAG to give the context, and then they will use prompt engineering to generate a better output. Right. So generally, these things are used in combination, but this is a decision tree that you people can follow. Okay. Please write understood in the chat if you are able to understand this slide. This is important, everyone. Please write understood in the chat if you are able to understand this. Amazing. Yes. And guys, understand right now from this information, if you think that you have understood, it is partially delusion because it took me a lot of time, lot of practice, lot of talking to some amazing engineers and product managers, trying things of my own in order to summarize and maybe give you these kind of mental models. Okay, so I am giving you very concentrated piece of information that I have collected through time. Okay, so don't think that you will be able to go ahead and understand everything at once. But my recommendation is, my suggestion is that please spend time with this. Watch these videos again and again. Okay, and one more thing, that once you have watched this, okay, go to ChatGPT and write that please rate my understanding of this topic on a scale of 1 to 10 and write line by line what have you understood. So you will write, this is how one should take a decision of using fine tuning, prompt engineering, or let's say RAG. And then you write step by step your frame. And then you ask ChatGPT to rate it. That is the only way to assure if you have understood it or not. And the good part is, yes, you have understood it well, but still ChatGPT will go ahead and give you some appreciation and it will give you some pointers that you can correct. That is how you get the ultimate learning. Okay. Always remember, I've told you in the last class, all the learning is course correction. All the learning is course correction. You learn something from here, you have a foundation. You learn something on your own by reflecting, by looking at the recordings. Then you give it to ChatGPT, you learn better. Right. So learning how to learn is more important than what to learn. Right. Now, with that being said, I will go ahead and tell you some more nuances. So we have talked about fine tuning and all. Okay. Now I'll tell you about how a popular integrated development environment called Cursor works. I'll give you some fundamentals around this. Okay. So when someone asks you a question that how a complicated product is working behind the scenes, tell me in the chat, guys, how would you answer this question? How Cursor works? You are in an interview and someone asks you how Cursor works. What will you do? Yes. So first question is very good. What is Cursor? Because if you don't know what Cursor is, how we are going to answer this? Okay. But understand, you guys are supposed to know about the popular AI tools. Okay. Everyone is supposed to know about the popular AI tools. If you do not know, I will give you two resources. Okay. First is, there is a website called as Futurepedia, where you can get all the popular AI tools that are here right now. Okay, so keep on checking this website once in a week so that you are able to understand what different kind of tools are available. Okay, I think they are not loading right now, but you can check it at your own time. Okay, that is the first part, futurepedia.io. Okay, the second website is Product Hunt. If you are a product manager and if you're not on Product Hunt, that's not cool. Okay, so please go to Product Hunt and you just have to click on Launch Archive. Okay, And in the launch archive, you should be able to see what are the popular products of that particular date, particular week, or particular month. At least for every month, the popular product you should be knowing, right? You should build this understanding because understand, don't worry about whether people are going to ask you this in an interview, but you should follow the curiosity. If you're curious enough, you're understanding what products are there, why do they work, you'll be able to become a better product manager. Okay, so be used to these websites. Okay, and also there is a list of A16Z top AI apps. Okay, A16Z top AI apps you can understand. Here you can go ahead and understand this. Okay, so they have created this where you can understand what are the popular products that world is using. Okay, so now you can use this. I will mention all of these links in the resources so that you don't have to worry. Okay, be aware about. You don't have to go into details, but at least be aware about them. Okay, it is a helpful practice for you to do as a product manager. Okay, you have to be curious. You have to follow your curiosity. Otherwise, what is the purpose of doing all of this? Great people have done great things because they were courageous enough to follow the curiosity. Most people are not these days. So you have to be courageous to follow your curiosity, right? So how cursor works? So whenever someone asks you these kind of questions, my first request to you is this. You do not have to tremble. You do not have to become cold feeted. आपने घबराना नहीं है. Okay. Which is what you need to do is please try to break down the problem. First, understand the problem statement. Second is go ahead and try to break it down into small parts. What are they asking? Why do they care about this? What is the reason behind this question? How can I break this down? Understand? So what you will do is there is a model, like forget about cursor right now. There is a mental framework or a mental model or a decision making thing that I use almost every time, which is called as a issue tree. Issue tree. What I do is I take up the problem statement or the situation or whatever is being called upon. I will break it down into small parts. And then I'll further break it down into small parts. And once I have I'll go ahead and try to solve it. This simply is called as a, this thing simply is called as a issue tree. Issue tree is, what issue tree is, I'm going to send a detailed requirement to you. Okay, so we have a very amazing article on issue trees. Okay, okay, share this with you in the chat as well. In the main program, we are going to discuss more about issue trees. Okay, so any framework that you see in the world, okay, so I'm sure many of you might be aware about SWOT framework, Porter's five forces, circles framework, okay, whatever we call it, AARRR framework. Okay, there are so many frameworks, but understand all of these frameworks are actually taken from issue trees. This is the mental model that you need to remember. Okay, I'll send the notes with you so that you are able to understand. So what we'll do is we will try to create a small issue tree here. Okay, so what are the things? How cursor works? First is cursor is a fork of VS Code, which is when these people were building cursor, they thought that we should go ahead and build something from scratch, but it would have taken a lot of time. So they have gone to VS Code, which is Visual Studio Code, created by Microsoft in collaboration with GitHub. And then they have gone to GitHub on that account. Then they have downloaded the base and then they started developing on the top of the same. Right? This is called as a fork. Okay. This was a very important strategic decision. Why? Because people were already aware about. So first of all, people who do not know cursor is an integrated development environment. So if you are a non-tech person, I'm sure whenever you have seen a developer working, you would have seen a black screen where they are going ahead and writing code. That is called as an integrated development environment, where they are writing code. Okay, there is another black screen called as terminal where they are executing codes and deploying codes. But where they are writing code is called as integrated development environment. Okay. In the world before AI, we used to have integrated development environments such as Visual Code, such as Sublime Text, such as Eclipse. But right now, the most popular one is Windsurf and Cursor because they give you the ability to generate code within your IDE with the help of AI. Right. So how Cursor was created? The simple thing was when Cursor was created, okay, before that ChatGPT came. So these people were able to understand that as a developer, what I'm doing is I am writing my problem statement to ChatGPT. It will generate the code for me. I will copy that code in my code base. I will run it. If it works very good, again, I'm going to again go to ChatGPT in order to iterate. So someone thought, why don't I go ahead and bring GPT into my code base rather than I go to chat GPT screen every time in order to chat? Why don't I bring that chat GPT into my system, into my integrated development environment? That is how Cursor started. Right. So rather than creating something from scratch, they thought that yes, we need to create an integrated development environment. So rather than doing that, what they did was they they picked up an existing piece of software called as VS Code and they made customizations on the top of the same. Okay, so what customizations they made? So I'm not sure if you guys are able to see. There is a screen where all of your files are visible. There is a screen where you can go ahead and see your code. And then they added this screen, which is you can now chat with your code. This cursor will be able to understand all of your code, all of your technology that you have stored so that it can give you better answers. Right. And it has been proven to reduce the time that developers take to, let's say, build applications by almost 80-90%. At least the AI companies are reporting it. Okay. So then this is how they were created. They were a fork of VS Code. Fork means customization. They have taken like their own piece of software from VS Code, which is open source. Then they are customizing on the top of the same. Right. After that, they created two levels of AI integration. Okay. So when you go ahead and open Cursor, everyone should go ahead and install Cursor, even if you are not tech person. Okay, it's free to use. So they have two things. First is whenever you are writing a piece of code, they are going to suggest you that they are going to autofill the code for you. Not only one line, two line. They are going to fill the complete. They are not only going to go ahead and give you the next character. They will not just autocomplete. They will autofill that. Yes, this is the whole code that you can go ahead and put it over there. Right? Which is a faster time. Which is whenever you go ahead and write a piece of code, whenever you are putting your cursor somewhere in your code, it will suggest that you can write this in this way. You can complete this in this way. Okay, that is quicker. Second part is they take full code base that you have. They take full code base that you have. They use a piece of technology called as turbo buffer, which converts every content that you have into chunks and then convert the chunks into vector embeddings and store in Cursor, Cursor's database. So whenever you ask Cursor that go ahead and write this complete feature from end to end, it is going to understand all of your code, all of the vector embeddings. It is going to understand how you have written this piece of code. Then it will use GPT or Claude or any other LLM in order to go ahead and complete the whole content for you. They also have access to something called as max mode. Max mode is they will let you to use all the full context window. Generally, people are only able to utilize 200K or 300K tokens into context window, but they have something called as max mode, and they have partnered with GPT and other systems in order to give it a complete max mode. So you are able to utilize the whole context. So what will they will do is they have taken whenever you go ahead and start using Cursor, they will take your full code base, millions of lines. They will put it into vector embeddings, and then they will store the vector embeddings in their database at Cursor. They do not have your code base, they only have the vector embeddings. And then you do the work, and then whenever you need any suggestion, they are going to search from the vector embedding, use LLM to generate good piece of code, and then they will send it back to you. Right? And all of these things happen within fractions of time. This is optimized more for accuracy. This is optimized more for your speed. Right? So there are two modes in which you can use Cursor. One is the chat mode. What you do is whenever you are writing something, you will start getting some kind of suggestions. Okay, this happens on the fly very, very quickly, which is called as the tab commands. Other is when you using the chat mode, when you use the cursor in the agentic mode or the chat mode, you ask it some questions that please go ahead and create this. You give it some kind of instructions or commands, and then it generates everything based on your context. That happens to turbo buffer for full context. Right. And a very good observation that you can make is look at all the successful AI products these days. Okay, so understand there is a recent study that is conducted by MIT, which says that 95% of enterprise AI adoptions and innovation plans fail. Like people who are looking to implement AI and use AI products in their companies, or they are not able to give any result on their profit and loss statements. It is not able to contribute to the bottom line or the top line. Okay. And when I read this report carefully, I was able to understand, and they have mentioned it very clearly, that what these other top 5% are doing. Okay. And if you observe all the products that are in that top 5%, they have one thing in common. That one thing is human in the loop design. What is human in the loop design? Understand? Right now, most of the companies do not want you to completely automate the process because they do not trust LLMs. If you see any successful product, if you see Cursor, if you see ChatGPT, if you see Gamma, okay, in all of these products, you should be able to see that the LLM will generate the base content. Then it will allow you, the human, to improve that content, iterate that content, remove that content, take that content. Okay, so humans are using LLMs as co-pilots. They want to use LLMs as co-pilots rather than their replacement. This is a very important insight. Right. So whenever you go ahead and build an AI product, you have to look at the UX very carefully. Tech, I've already told you. You have to now look at UX very carefully and try to implement something which is human in the loop design. So what Cursor does is, understand people are afraid that if I give it my code base to Cursor, it will make any changes and then I'll not be able to trace it back. So whenever it makes any changes, it is going to create a snapshot or a commit, what we call in Git, so that anytime you have to reflect back the code, you have to roll back the code, you should be able to do this. Okay. So my recommendation to everyone is, okay, after this session, as we are about to end, what everyone should do is, you should you should search for A16Z top AI products. Okay, I'll also mention this resource in the note section. And then you should look at these apps. Pick about 10 apps and try to understand what are the UX that they are using. Tech, you already know, you can look about tech, but understand about the UX. You will be able to find that, yes, there is some kind of human in the loop design. Okay. And then you'll be able to understand how to design right AI products. And that research that is conducted by MIT that has explicitly told that these products are failing because these products are created without taking care of the problem that they are solving. They do not understand the company context and they are just building tools after tools. Rather than focusing on the UX, rather than focusing on the problem that they are solving, they are only focusing on technology. Right. So as a product manager, AI can only be your power. It can only help you if you know what you are doing with that. Okay. So this is about how Cursor works in a snapshot. Okay. Now, in the next session, we are going to talk about AI agents. I will also help you understand about MCPs. And then we will try to build our own AI agent together. Tomorrow is a very important class because we'll go ahead and give you some understanding of the tools. Plus, I'll give you the next step to fetch your certificate. So if you have not joined so far, if you're joining just tomorrow, make sure that you do not miss that class. That is the most important class, like too important to be missed, I would say. Okay. Today feedback, I will not take it on that Google form, but I'll ask everyone to please go ahead and mention your honest feedback for today's session in the comment of this LinkedIn post. I have sent a chat to you. Okay. I'll give you 2 minutes before I could call it a quit. Tomorrow's session is super important, so please do not miss it. Tomorrow, I'll also share the instructions on how to get your certificate. Okay. Everyone, please take 2 minutes. Please take 2 minutes and give your valuable, honest feedback on this. I would also appreciate that if you really like the session, please click on that repost button. What happens is when you click on that repost button, or if you comment, it reaches out to your network. Okay. And then your network is also able to get this free piece of information that we are providing. Okay. So rather than people just talking about AI, these 4 sessions, I'm going to make sure that they become the benchmark whenever people want to go ahead and learn about AI. 3-4 years ago, we have created like a piece of content which is technology for product managers. To this day, I get messages from people that they were able to crack interviews, they were able to understand tech coming from non-tech background because of that simple playlist. I want to do the same with this AI sprint so that this creates a benchmark. Okay, that yes, these are the essential things that you need to understand about AI, and everyone feels confident. And you need to help me with this. We are spending hundreds of hours in order to create this content. Understand this kind of content that we are creating. This is unique content. We have to put a whole lot of hard work in order to create all of this. Okay. And if it remains to only this 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, 10,000 people, that is an injustice to the content. So you have to be the torch bearers. If you like the content, please go ahead, push on that repost button, send it to your friends, keep post on LinkedIn, send emails to your friends so that people are able to know about this. Okay, I have done my part. Then now you have to done your part. It is a mechanism to pay back if you are getting this information for free. Okay, tomorrow I will share detailed instructions about how to get your certificate, along with some cool projects that you can. Okay. Yes. Everyone, please mention your feedback in the post that I've shared in the comment. Okay. We are going to see each other tomorrow at 8 p.m. IST, 7:30 p.m. PST. Don't miss that session. Super, super important. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Bye. Take care. We'll see each other tomorrow. The slides and everything would be available. You just go to the AI sprint page that you have, check the email that we have sent you, and you'll be able to see all the recordings and content there. It is also available on YouTube. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Bye. Take care. You have been a great audience. And there can be a, yes, there can be a Q&A session, but that we'll decide next. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Bye and take care. Thank you, guys. Take care. Bye.